Hey everybody, this is Lorelia coming to you today to talk about, you see the title, how to guarantee your LLC is business funding ready. So what do I mean? Before I go into the topic that I want to talk about, if you're new to this channel, right now, I'm streaming from YouTube as well as Facebook. I primarily talk about credit and primarily helping real estate investors leverage business credit to do more deals, to invest in more deals, to expand their portfolio. Now, this is not the topic that I'm talking about today is about LLCs and how to be sure that your LLC is funding ready. I'm going to give you two key things that you need to consider in order to know if your LLC is business funding ready. And the reason why I want to talk about this topic came from a conversation that I had today with a person who said, "Hey, Lorelia, I've been following your content, um, you know, uh, in regards to being able to build business credit. I've tried the strategies in the past with the net 30s and the DNB and the Dun and Bradstreet, but I got no luck. And then I said, let me try the strategies that Lorelia lays forth. I have over, I don't know, 500 videos on my channel. So I'm not new to this topic. And so the person told me that they were able to use many of the um of the of the points, or should I say, some of the things I talk about, on my channel, to help them to be able to acquire properties. So the person told me that they acquire properties, to not to disclose the person and to keep the anonymity of the person. I won't say what, but once again, like, I know this stuff works. A lot of what's out there doesn't work, which is why it keeps people confused and stuck. And so that is why I wanted to talk about this topic. So now that I gave you a background of what triggered this conversation, the person said that they pretty much was at a standstill in regards to wanting to go to the next step. And the next step for that person was the ability to be able to get some type of line of credit solely with their LLC. Now, don't get me wrong, that is the creme of the creme. That is what everyone is looking for. No one wants the PG. Everybody wants everything in their EIN. They want 50. That's always the magic number. I want 50K in the line of credit that I can use when I want. And voila. And so what happens is that a person will try to do some things on their own and they will hit a brick wall. And so that's why I wanted to talk about the two things that you need to have in order to make sure that your LLC is business funding ready. The first thing is to make sure you have a QFE, a qualified funding entity. Now, that does not mean, because when I say that to a person says, "Oh, I have an LLC. I have an LLC. I've had an LLC for this amount of time, this, that, and the other." And by all means, having an LLC is not a QFE. It's not a qualified funding entity. Most of the information on the internet, you hear people who say the generic get an LLC. And my dispute to that, if just an LLC can get you funding, then that would eradicate poverty in America. That would eradicate individuals being poor. Because imagine a person can literally go to the Secretary of State in at least in New Jersey and pay $125 for LLC. And they'll take that LLC and go to the bank and think 50K. Imagine that. No poverty in America. Everyone and their mother would use that strategy. And that's why I say that strategy has a lot of holes. Because if it worked, people would use it. But it sounds good. It gets the ears ringing. It's very salacious. And people try to do it and they hit a brick wall. And I'm here to say that the LLC, you can get it funded, but it has to be set up the right way. And that is what a QFE is, a qualified funding entity. So now, the second thing is, well, what is a qualified funding entity? Well, this is the game. You can't have an entity that has trigger words that makes the lender run scared. Believe that. It sounds oxymoronic. I want funding in my real estate LLC, but if I use certain words, it can scare the lender and the lender may not lend on. And what are some of those words? Using the word real estate. So think about it. You have, ABC Get Real Estate LLC, 125 State Street LLC, Real Estate LLC. The word real estate, the word property, going back to the 123, 123 Main Street Property LLC. You have the word prosperity in your LLC name. You have the word wealth in your LLC name. Those are trigger words. Those words will scare a lender. It will put you in the box of this person is not, this entity cannot stand alone to get funding unless you have the 3 R's: real estate, revenue, receivables. And even if you have those 3 and you don't have the right QFE, qualified funding entity, you will hit a brick wall. Now, this is hard for me to really explain verbally, but what I have created is what's called a funding audit. I did a free workshop about a week ago, and in that workshop, I went through some of the things that you need to look at in the audit. And so the audit, the reason why you want to do the audit is because the audit will give you a roadmap to say, are you funding ready? Because really the misconception is many people think it's just the LLC. And there's a very common, saying that it's more to a name. When it comes to being able to marry real estate and business funding, a business credit, and you want it to stand alone, of course, there are creative things that you can do when you are going to leverage your personal credit or you are going to PG. And although PG and personal guarantee is nothing nobody wants to do, but I'm a big advocate of, it does put you in front of the line. But for that person who says, well, Aurelia, I just want an LLC and I just want, to get the funding. There are things that have to be considered. And creating a qualified funding entity is just one step. It's just one step, but it is a step that is very widely overlooked. You ever been to the bank? For those who have been told to go to the bank, and when you went to the bank, did you notice that the person that you were talking to asked you, what is it that you do? And then you go ahead and you spit out what it is that you do. Well, what you do not know is when you're explaining to that bank representative what it is that you do when you're opening up a business bank account, there are codes that they are putting into the system to be able to code you a certain way. And when I say code, I mean in terms of the type of business entity that you are. Now, for my Dun and Bradstreet people who know about the the NAICS codes and the SIC codes, this is that time when that does matter, because what the banking representative will put in there are those codes, the SIC codes and the NAICS codes. And if the coding in the system is the wrong way, when you do try to go get funding, that is when you hit a brick wall, because your company name being USA Real Estate LLC automatically tells your bank representative that you are a real estate entity, which is not what we want to do in a QFE, in a qualified funding entity. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't purchase LLC, because come on, those are two different conversations. There's the can I buy real estate in my LLC, whatever that name is, using the words that I just mentioned: real estate, properties, prosperity, wealth, or whatever. But this is different. This has to do with funding. This is not about you purchasing real estate and now the title has the word whatever. Like I said, 123 Main Street, what is necessary in order for you to get the funding. So, this is just one thing to consider, and one thing that you really want to look at when it comes to guaranteeing the funding for your LLC. It's widely looked over, but those are the things to consider. Because, like I said, as much as I don't care for a lot of that teaching that is out there with the Dun and Bradstreet and the Net 30s, the one thing I always say, it has its place, but it's not going to get you to what it is that people are looking for. They're trying to get to the bag. They're trying to get the cash, the credit, the lines of credit, the loans in the entity name. So that is all that I have for you. But if you want to go through that audit procedure, this Saturday, November 27th, I will be holding a workshop. On this video underneath, you will see a link to it: www.neverloseadealevents.com. It is a workshop where I'm going to go into how I help clients have their business entity structured to be able to get access to the funding that they want. This is a process that I create. So this is not no, let me teach you about business credit. This is a process to get you to the money. This is what I take everybody through. This is not, I'm going to teach you how to get business credit. And then a lot of times what you are left with is a lot of information and a lot of theory, but you're still wondering, okay, how do I put this all together to get to where it is that I want to get to, which is the funding. And that, my friend, is what I'm going to be sharing with you. So, once again, this is Lorelia. Like I said, one of the main things you need to consider is the QFE. If you didn't see the video, I go into it. Watch the replay. For those who are watching the replay and not watching it live, I go into the two main things that you need to have, and looking forward to sharing some more tips with you so I can help people to remove the confusion, because a lot of people are confused, dazed, and confused. They got a lot of information, but they're not getting access to nothing. And I'm here to help you with that, because, like I tell people, there's no, as of this time, November 2021, there's no shortages of funding. And if you know the right way that you can maximize the lending industry, and I don't mean doing anything illegal, the world can become your oyster. And like I said, not nothing illegal. You can literally do things an honest way and still be able to win the prize. The world can become your oyster. So once again, this is Lorelia. Check the links underneath this video, and I will see you in the next video.